Okay, here we come. Here we come. Hello, everyone, as you're coming in. Hello. Let's see if we're coming in. I'm watching the screen.
The delay is unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
I can see nothing.
It's definitely unsettling. If you have to look at us just waiting while we wait to see our own faces, it'll be here.
That's what we're in this for.
Just waiting to see our own faces.
What is it? What are you seeing on your end, Justin?
Ah, there we are.
Okay.
Huzzah! Let's go.
Hi, sorry about that. That's just us.
I'm not sorry.
Being
Weird technical
professionals.
difficulty.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so happy to be here. I see so many of you already over in the comment section. So I'm going to be monitoring that and only giving the questions that I love the most to everybody at the couch here.
You may ask us anything, but it's up to Lacey what happens.
Lacey
I am
decides.
the gatekeeper. You got to get it through me. So we'll see how it goes. One of the first ones that came through that I loved that I just want to start with is Goody Cags. Wish I knew what your real first name was.
I hope it's Goody Cags.
Says, does the community's enthusiasm shock you by now? Do you not realize how much we love you and what you do?
I mean, yes, that's very shocking. that is shocking news every time.
You don't know us. No.
Every day we wake up and it's like, wait, people actually care / are enjoying what we're doing? Well, wow, cool.
It's
Great.
the point. It's the point.
I still feel surprised every time. I don't know. Do you all, before we launch something new like this, it's like I still have these butterflies and uncertainty about who knows what could happen. There's no guarantees in this whatsoever. It's a gamble every time. And people showing up like they have in this last couple days, it does shock me.
Yeah, I mean, we've experienced it before, so we have the memory of it happening, but it always, it never feels like a guarantee. It always feels almost like a dream that happened. And then when it happens again and you're experiencing it in person again, just the effusive outpouring of enthusiasm and excitement and people's willingness to engage and be creative. And it is shocking. It is surprising because in between our Kickstarters, we're just engaging with the internet in its regular form. And, which is a very different experience. And it always is very surprising to enter a space where on the internet 1,000 strangers, 1,000 comments have been made on the internet in one place by strangers, and it is all warm and positive. That doesn't happen. That is shocking. That's very weird every time, and it's remarkable.
It says something about our community too, because the event becomes what you bring to it, right? It's not a place you go to get something. It's kind of a result of who we are and how we exude that.
Jared, if you haven't seen and we haven't introduced, if you haven't listened to the podcast, this is Jared. Jared's been on all of the,
I was on the How to Play video.
Yeah, on the How to Play video. Brian, who was on here, was like, hey, Mark, Tom, Lacey, and Derek. And then I saw him go back. Oh, that's not
No.
Derek. Small screen. So
That's
We
how to
still
play
love
Jared.
Derek. Where's Derek?
Derek's in
Derek.
the other room.
Derek, get over here.
Oh, Derek's doing the thing I asked him to do so that I wouldn't have to do it.
Oh,
Say hello.
Derek's
Let
doing
them know
chores.
that we are different men.
There's Derek.
Hey.
But you
Not
both,
the same.
Is
You
he in
have
the frame?
great beards,
Justin, are you
though.
good?
Am I? Do I need to get close?
Nice.
No. Okay.
No, he's doing actual
Bye, buddy.
important work.
Thank you, Derek, for
Thank
the
you.
work. Derek does
Right.
actual work.
Oh,
We do
man.
this.
Okay, let's pull to another one. Basically, if I didn't give a overall format of what we're doing today, this is full AMA style. So as you're putting questions through, I'm going to pull them through. We're going to answer them. There's no format or organization to this conversation other
We
than
just
that.
put them through and pull them through.
And that's what we do.
It's chaos, but that's the way we like it.
I like it that way. Our plan is to maybe go about an hour today. We'll see how many questions you have, but we'll do our best, okay? So I'm just going to move on to the next one. Chuck White wants to know if there are any plans for a true solo mode instead of two-handing it. What are the thoughts on this?
Probably not. When we first designed Unsettled, we didn't have solo in mind whatsoever. The entire sacred concept for the game was exploring the idea of group cohesion and teamwork and what it means to be in a situation with a group of other people who all have their own personalities, and there's trust in the group that ebbs and flows based on what's going on. And so the entire spiritual foundation of the game is about a group of people in a situation working together. And it just so happens that the design ended up in such a way that you can play it two-handed and sort of role play that dynamic between two characters that you're controlling, and you get to name them and do whatever it is that you do to get into it. But to actually take it to a true solo mode with just one person, not only, with just one character, not only doesn't fit the spirit of the game, but it also mechanically doesn't work, because part of what is so like intricate or like integral to the experience is everyone playing has their own abilities that can all be used at any time on anyone's turn. And part of the real joy of the game is everyone comboing powers off each other and triggering things on each other's turns. And if I do this, then it launches you in the air, and then you get to do your thing that shoots you over there, and then you get to catch them, and this thing happens. And as soon as we take that out, like half the abilities in the game don't work. Many of the abilities don't even work on your turn. They're most beneficial on other people's turns. So it would have to be a completely different game to be true solo-able.
Anything else?
Yeah, what he said. No, we are working on another game, and if you like solo games, this is going to be your jam for sure.
Yeah, that's Spiritfire.
Spiritfire is going to be the ultimate solo.
Spiritfire basically is a solo game that we're trying to figure out the best way to allow you to play it multiplayer, but it is at its heart a solo game.
It's a multiplayer
Yeah.
solo experience, yeah, for sure.
Jared's just going to yell right from the sidelines.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Do y'all think Tom looks like Tobey Maguire?
That's a new one.
Is it? I can see it, especially at least when I look at you on camera. I mean, you look like.
Is your spider sense tingling?
No, there's no Tobey Maguire thing.
It's just a question. Not from me. Somebody else put it in.
Maybe a little.
I could put that on him.
In the newest movie.
He wouldn't. Yeah.
Not like original movies, Toby.
Oh, so now that he's old.
Basically.
Okay, let's talk about Luna for a minute. Okay, everybody's favorite robot. Eric Hilgendorf wants to know any chance to order additional Luna models for multiple paint jobs for when she turns on us. What do we think about this? Your logistics brain.
I mean, we don't have any immediate plans to do extra models. We are definitely going to talk about that and see what we can
Mark
make
has
possible.
this look on his
We're
face.
doing something.
We on the longer answer to your, like, the non-direct answer to your question is, if you're interested in Luna, like, there's going to be plenty of Luna. We are the Luna company now, and if you enjoy Luna, you're going to have no problem merchandising that joy, I guess is what. How else would you put that in a way that was less?
To answer the question, we are looking at how people can immerse more and customize their own experiences. We love that people paint the way that they want to paint, the explorers in Luna, and I think to really do it justice, it would justify a discussion internally for us as a team. Can we put forth something else that will help extend that? And I think we are definitely going to do that with Luna. Is it far along? No, it's something that we're going to introduce later.
There is a conversation about us just printing extra Luna minis that you can add on. We have had conversations about we should do a different Luna sculpt so they can have an additional Luna sculpt. What we run into with things like that is, as soon as we make an alternative Luna and make it available, many, many, many people will just buy it without looking at what it is or why it is. And then we run into this situation where someone bought this additional Luna that's just a fun thing for people who want an additional fun thing, but they don't actually want that fun thing. They just bought it because they saw it and they think that it is, necessary. Mm-hmm. And so now we haven't swindled a bunch of people to buy it, but a whole bunch of people have ultimately, like, at the end of the day, bought something that they didn't personally need, and that's a bad experience for them. So how to navigate making just purely cosmetic fun extras feel like something that we're responsibly bringing into the space.
We're going to try to lead
some
with
nuance
intention,
to it.
yeah.
But yeah, we do want to definitely give you all the Luna access you want.
I was looking at questions. Did we already mention Luna plushie? Because people are asking and clamoring over that too.
Luna plushie comes up a lot.
We have a lot of what's the thing that your
Squishmallow.
Squishmallow.
Yes.
Yeah. Like a giant plush, super soft.
We've also
purring
had
Luna.
We've also had conversations about like really high quality like vinyl art toy Luna. Stress ball Luna is still probably my favorite.
I like stress ball. Okay, let's shift into another set of questions here. So Fisticuff Links wants to
Nice.
know, how do you find the balance as Kickstarters get bigger and bigger between maintaining the creative integrity of the game and integrating potentially awesome but also crazy ideas from the community? Okay, so we did make a shift on this campaign specifically to kind of make that a little bit more balanced for us. Yes.
It's a very good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And basically the way we go about it is we just draw a hard line that says, listen, we are the final arbiter of what these products are going to be. And we will at no point sacrifice our professionalism or the integrity of the game or whatever the product is based on a public poll. What we do love to do is open this creative space for people to stir up this just maelstrom of wonderful ideas, and then we use them as inspiration and jumping off points when we're working on our stuff. So sometimes something is directly translatable. It's perfect as someone proposed it. We can just use it right now as is. Hooray. Other times, you know, the thing that gets the most support in the community is really close, but we have to just kind of take the spirit of it and work that into something that fits the game world and lore and design integrity. So basically, the answer to that is no matter how big we get, we still have a responsibility to just draw a hard line and make sure that what gets made is the best that it can be, while also like honoring the joy and excitement of the creativity of the community, but without ever being like beholden to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not something I think you can set a policy for. I think it's something that has to be taken on a case-by-case basis, week to week, month to month. What are we doing right now? How is this going to impact the game? How is this going to impact the community? How is this going to impact this situation? And we have to protect the integrity of what we've made. We've got way too much into this. And these systems are delicate. They're very, I mean, almost fragile. Like, we have to be very nuanced with how we make adjustments to the game. Like what we're doing in the campaign right now, nicknames and survival task concepts and stuff like that. That's just a big, giant brainstorm that everybody can be involved in. It feels full of life and it feels amazing. And that's where we'd like to keep that. As we go into the mechanics, that's where we get a little bit more tactical, a little bit more precise with how things work. And sometimes we have to make judgment calls that take it a little bit away from, you know, maybe the original intent, but we have to make sure it stays on the rails.
It's true, because sometimes those ideas are so sick and so awesome and so bombastic that they might require the invention of their own mechanic, or you know, randomly an idea from the community might be so cool for this card in Vindication, but all of a sudden, like, this cool idea has made this one card the most powerful card in the entire game. It's like, that's a super awesome idea, and I want to stay true to the intention of like what kind of power this is giving you, but not to like a game-breaking level, and that's where that balance comes in.
Yeah, what we can't do is during all the, like, a Kickstarter campaign, and the season that we're in a Kickstarter campaign is so unbelievably busy that like it would be irresponsible for us to allow any sort of design elements to be finalized in that time period. You know, so we make zero effort right now whatsoever to have any of these ideas make mechanical sense. We're just collecting cool ideas. And then when the campaign ends and we've all taken a long nap and we come back and we're refreshed and we're sort of like reset our focus, then we look at, okay, here's all the ideas that came in. Oh,
Just glad I was listening.
wow. And then we reapproach all those ideas and say, okay, how do we make these fit just right into the game?
But this is the part that we love about these campaigns, is being able to actually stir up this engagement from within the community. I think people have always, from the very beginning of our Kickstarters, been drawn to us because of the unbelievable amount of passion and creativity that we pour into things. It's gross. It's just the passion that slops around here is disgusting. But you like it.
Disgusted right now on
And
a number of levels.
We like your sloshing too. And so it's like,
Oh,
how
she's
do
still
we...
going.
You
When
just
will it end?
nodded out as you did that. Okay, I have a question for Jared.
Excuse me.
Ictodactyl
Okay.
asks, have you guys thought about curating background music for each planet?
Okay. Well, I can tell you that Tom has at the very least posted one time in the Facebook group, the Unsettled Facebook group, talking about or presenting a playlist. Yes, short answer is super interested. Think that thematic music really heightens the tone. Whenever I'm playtesting or running new playtesters through or playing Unsettled, I'm almost always playing it with music. I think it really heightens the experience. So the possibility of having future Orange Nebula music recommendations or even original Orange Nebula music to play during the planets is something that intrigues us.
We are having internal conversations about an Orange Nebula app that you can basically go in and have access to all kinds of rules, clarifications, and here's some 4 or 5 tracks that you could play while you're on Grokkus, right? And they basically maybe set the mood, and there's some ambiance and some ambient background for it.
You got ambience and ambiance and all of them.
All the A words.
Not all of them. God.
So, yeah, that's a conversation that we're having. It's a lot of planning and a lot of work, but to do it right, we kind of want to have everything in one hub where you can go and kind of customize the experience and have access to the resources and other stuff that you need.
Mm-hmm. We do have a Spotify playlist, but I think you were alluding to this while I was off doing whatever I was doing.
Getting rid of the sloshing from his nostrils.
That gosh,
It's not like Frostrals, is it?
I will share those playlists in some future update on the campaign.
Raise your hand in the comments if you know what Frostrals are. You'll be an OG for us.
We got OGs in there?
We'll see. Okay, so many people are talking about Container 3. Can we have a survival task that includes Container 3? Kevin brought up the idea of a plushie for Container 3.
We survived Container 3.
It's like one of those dumpster fire plushies.
There's a bunch of people over here asking about it.
I'm glad that we all got through that together and that's a shared trauma that we all get to bond over forever.
That we're scarred over, yeah.
No, we'll make the survival task where you play through the whole heist that you did, prior to the last wormhole.
See, I like that.
These things make us stronger.
When we make our Unsettled spin-off that's in a completely different setting and then get Lacey's mall and tax season version in there.
You know how I feel about that. Unsettled
we'll
in the
bring
ER.
in the Container 3. Unsettled in the ER actually would probably be a pretty...
Unsettled Newborn Edition.
Planet where you're just doing global logistics.
Most of these people don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, they do.
I feel like you can infer it based on the fact that we're describing it.
People who don't know about Container...
Oh,
I don't know. If you don't know, ask a friend. There's lots of people in the comment section that
during the fulfillment of the first Kickstarter, it took place right in the middle of the absolute shipping crisis madness of 2021. And one of our containers got stranded out in the ocean for a very long time. And #WeAreContainer3 became a rallying cry.
Yes.
And then we made up a whole story about Tom's heart surgery being a cover for Container 3.
I mean, you need a cover for the things we had to do.
Okay, I'm going to take just a quick side over here and bring up Spiritfire. A couple of people are asking if there's any updates on Spiritfire. A cosmonaut says, what was that? Oh no, it's just a cosmonaut that said, what was the primary solo game you mentioned? Not to jump ahead, but when can we expect to hear more about it? So are there any updates on Spiritfire right now?
There are not any public updates on Spiritfire right now. We have obligations that we prioritize ahead of, some of the creative work that we'd like to do, and we're really pretty focused on Spiritfire from a development standpoint, but it's so early on right now. I think our goal is to make sure that we take care of our responsibilities to the Vindication and Unsettled backers right now, and so that's been really where our focus is. That's not to say that we are not moving forward on that every week, because we are. It's just not our hot item. There will be some spills coming out probably in March, maybe April, to give a little bit more insight as to what this is, because there's really not a whole lot of clarity out there yet.
There's just that one wormhole where we talk about it.
I will tell you, we're over a year into development, and there's a lot of work that has gone into a new game called Spiritfire that we are making. It is going to be a very deep, ongoing, kind of go at your own pace, solo-focused experience that you can play with other people. We'll have to explain that later, I think, but yeah, that's really all I can give you now. It's a very different type of tabletop experience. It's hard to describe just because it's not like anything that's out there at all.
Yeah, and just to be like super candid, we had in our sort of timeline schedule of when we were going to be working on things, like we were planning on being further along on Spiritfire at this point, but the way that the fulfillment and shipping situation went in 2021, it just, anything that could go wrong on that campaign did go wrong. And we really had an obligation, we felt, to set aside all other projects and bring everyone into, let's do everything we possibly can to take care of the backers and get everyone their games and track down and find things that have been lost. And so we really had to pause the rest of our, business development and game development and product development processes in general for a solid 4 or 5 months. So everything is a little bit behind, but, that's how we prioritize things.
I will tell you, for me personally, though, this project has awakened something that is unlike anything else I've done in my career. And I think, Tom, to maybe a lesser extent, I don't know. We're just focused on so many different things, but this is...
Yeah, no lesser extent for me.
Career work, I think, for us. Like, we are...
I've got soul in Spiritfire. Like, there's no question, like, that this project matters to us.
Yeah.
Okay, what matters to Geyser is if maybe the most important person in the building could just pop their head in for a minute. Who is it?
Krista?
Yeah.
Yeah, Krista.
Krista.
Yes.
Krista, where are you? Come here. Come
She
here.
emerges from behind the fern.
Geyser wants to say hi to Krista, so Krista, give him a hi back.
Hi.
And then if you got any questions for Krista, why don't you stay for 5 or 10 minutes or so? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. And we'll pull out any questions that are Krista focused for a few minutes. But as you're getting those ready, one thing that I wanted to pull out over here is a time travel mechanic. Somebody asked, could you ever bring a time travel mechanic to a new planet design, and what would it look like? I know that we've talked about every time we've tried to bring in any sort of time travel, it's broken things.
Yeah, that's a planet we've worked on a number of times. We have this like time dilation planet. We're working on a planet where the premise is you have 3 locations or 4 locations, and then you have those 4 locations exist 3 different times, and so like they exist in 3 different time periods, but it's the same 3 locations. And so if you do something here, and then that translates to something that happens in the future, and then you travel back and you mess around, and we can't unbreak it, but we're trying because it's super cool.
We're gonna make it work.
Yeah, but anytime you mess with time and the timeline and things jumping back on the timeline, then does it re-trigger all the triggers? So like it messes with a bunch of things mechanically, but it's really a very cool thing to mess with.
We can do anything, right, Jared?
Right, absolutely.
Keep your mic close. Keep your mic closer to your face or talk louder. There's a couple people said it was hard to hear you.
The community also wants mic discipline.
Actually, Nick says, Mark, mic 4 to 6 inches from mouth. Okay, so it's
Done.
not just me yelling.
As
at
you wish.
Krista, a question that I have for you is, as you've been working on the new planets for Unsettled, do you have any favorite art concepts that you've been working through that you really loved diving into?
Like in terms of...
Like, let's say for any of the new planets that we've got going, as you've been doing any art, are there pieces that you've really enjoyed doing, and why? Have you enjoyed the process as a whole? Just talk to us about what this process has been like.
Well, Koguya has been very fun for me because I am a lover of all things organic and green and twisty, and there are lots of vines. And so I'm getting to explore megaflora and just weird, strange, familiar but odd plants. And so that has been very fun for me.
Krista's always like leaving the building and coming back with pieces of fern and then just like staring at them for long periods of time and like becoming familiar with them.
It's a deeper thing, isn't it?
I'm frequently asked, why is that on your desk?
I'm more like, where is your desk? It's covered with vines and leaves and
It's immersion art.
exoskeletons
And if you haven't, we've had both Krista and Jared on a couple episodes of the podcast that we've recorded that maybe are, some are live, some are not live yet. So if you want to know who the smartest person in the room usually is, it's Krista. The most entertaining and engaging, probably Jared. And so we're lucky to have both of them. If you want to see any more content from them, you can check it out on the Outpost content.
Yeah, the podcast, by the way, we have a podcast called The Outpost where we talk about inspired bigger thinking in creativity and consuming pop culture and making pop culture things and just living. Sometimes we talk about board games. Most of the time we don't. And it's available everywhere that, podcasts are available. It's called The Outpost Podcast with Orange Nebula.
and there's a couple on the YouTube channel too.
Yeah, we've just started transitioning it into a
video cast.
video cast. Thank you.
Nick says
I'm glad
that
you're so young and hip. And
secretly,
Yeah, that's me.
you are poison ivy.
Oh, she likes it. She really likes it.
All right, that's good for right now. If I have any more, I'll call you back over. Is that okay?
Okay, I can go hide.
Dismissed.
I know you're not like being put on the spot, so sorry. Love you.
you just hear the like rustling of plants as she crawls back into her desk.
Into her seed pod.
Jared, Ryan wants to know
Is it the Ryan?
The Ryan.
Yes.
Hi, Ryan. Nice to see you.
Wants to know, are there any opportunities for George of the Jungle type antics on Kogia?
That is, you're going to have to fight to avoid George of the
That
Jungle.
literally
like
is that planet.
That planet is all about just fun in the jungle.
It's just swinging on vines, jumping on
Fungal.
coiled up springy vines that boing you over
or
here,
like
and
crawling through little vine tunnels to get to another part of the planet.
the other day, Jared and I were playing, and I had this turn where, like, I swung from one node over another node and landed on one that was just these like spring vines that then boinged me over here onto another boinger, onto another swinger, and I made it like I did like 4 different things on one turn to land in one action to land on the opposite side of the map, and like it was just
I know.
it's
What-
all coming
what will
together.
you
That
do with
planet's
this power?
really fun as far as
It
mobility.
is really, really
Yeah.
fun. I just looked in here and saw you could see my bare feet, so I felt like I should put my shoes on. Okay.
Your shoes that do not conceal your bare feet.
I mean, but
No, I
it's
can
still
see your bare
different
feet.
than being totally barefoot on the live stream. I feel more comfortable now.
Is it totally different?
You know what? I'm not talking.
She
this
just
isn't a
wanted bling
question
on her
posed
feet.
to
They're
you.
like super bright.
Jobby says every time I watch an O-Neb video, my hug instinct kicks in. I need to watch this while I'm not at work. Should we like hug in honor so we can just? No, I meant hug me.
Oh, sure.
You okay? Nobody else wants to hug each other.
You guys also
We're
need
just
to
air
hug.
Hugging, yeah. Aww, for Jobby. Thank you.
There you
Jobby.
go.
Let's talk about.
Is that Jobby Clobby?
It just,
I assume.
Jobby Clobby.
Okay, let's see. Do you ever want to make a big box to hold all the planet boxes? Do we need a wagon? Do we need a container?
We think big, but that's going to be really too big.
Is
gonna
there
need a ship.
There's probably no way we would ever plan a big box to hold it all for Unsettled. How do you hold the galaxy?
So the intention behind the whole premise of why we designed the game system and framework the way that we did is so that it holds 2 planets so that you can just go and do your game night, right? And then you can go to your library of 180 planets and then select the 2 that you want to take to game night and go play. We are not going to stop making planets.
I saw some
So-
people in the Discord calculating how many planets you could fit into like a stack of 8 Calyx shelves. It's like 96 or something.
Life goals.
Yeah.
96.
I totally understand the desire for and the interest in a big box solution. I know that that's like a default desire for all games right now. I think it makes a lot of sense for most games because, traditionally what you have is you have a game and then you have content expanding that game. And when you play that game, it would make sense that you would want access to all that content. And that's not the way that Unsettled works. And so like we've made the all-in big box for Vindication because it makes sense to design that product with the design of the game of Vindication. With Unsettled, we would be making a big box just to say that we made a big box. It doesn't.
Then you would need another
just
one.
said, let's make a container 3 shelf.
You'd have to have multiple big boxes, and that kind of defeats the purpose. What's cool about the way that Planet boxes are designed is they fit, independently, and you can just grab the ones that you want and swap them out of the framework. And
Well, and you would never need more than one planet at a time, which is kind of what I was getting at before.
It's like you're not going to be exploring Zoran and Stranos at the same time.
It's not possible to use both at once. So you would never need to go somewhere or just be at home and say, like, I have access to all of it at once. So, if we made one huge big box, every time you got it out, if you've got 30 planets in there, you're using a 30th of that box. So why does that box exist?
All right.
Side note, just real quick. The 2 modules that we've added, the fascinations and the scientific specializations, are half the height. So stacked together, they are exactly one planet box. So you can still take one planet with both of those modules, and it'll fit perfectly in the framework box. And you can just take that one box to game night or out of your shelf and onto your table.
And can I get one more thought on this?
All right.
We don't know what the future looks like, and we know that it's nice on your shelves at home to have things in a box. And when this game runs its lifespan, who knows, 10 years from now, whatever, we are totally open to revisiting the idea of a big box to store it all in. Maybe it's the ultimate universe case. We drew a hard line on this on Vindication for years, then all of a sudden changed our mind about it. So I want us to stay open-minded, but right now we're so committing to making new planets that the idea of making a box to hold planets that's just going to immediately not hold all of them just doesn't make any sense
just
to
not
us.
logical.
Yeah.
Okay. Quite a few people agreed with you and said there's no need for it on this one too. So, this is an important question for people watching, I think. Mr. Pumpkin says, regarding what Marcel mentioned over here in the comments too, could you talk about what revised materials will be available to original Kickstarter backers in this campaign? How does the updated rulebook, planet inserts, etc.?
Yep.
Let's talk about that.
Let's just go there. I'm going to start, and then Tom will correct everything that I don't do properly.
I'm not that guy.
We need you to be that guy.
Okay, I'm that
so
guy.
there are a couple
Snickers
of
from the audience.
in the rule book. There are a couple of errors. Not a lot. There are a couple, and some of them are pretty. They needed to be changed. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 things that needed to be changed in the entire.
There were a whole bunch of little ones in the rule book. Like a period inside of a parentheses instead of outside of it.
And one glaring where we switched the terms.
There was one really, really glaring one that thankfully it described an action, and the action is right in the game space. So when you take the action, it's correct.
It's correct on the dashboard. Yeah.
Yeah. So that confusion is short lived, but it was certainly a big error. Yeah.
Yeah. So we will have in the Pledge Manager the corrected rule book available that you can add in for free. Okay. Also, we spent a lot of time working on these trays for the planet boxes for sleevers to have a solution and then the non-sleevers to have a solution. We actually spent a lot of time and money and effort trying to engineer a solution. And somewhere along the lines, the final version of that did not end up getting into production, and there was a tweak that needed to happen. So those whose sleeve cards, they don't fit perfectly at the bottom. They actually fit fine, but they don't fit perfectly. They don't fit snug and tight like it was intended to be. They do fit. We have made that adjustment, and we are going to have those also available in the Pledge Manager, a set of 6 that you can add on to your pledge for free, that you can add on to a pledge from this.
That again,
campaign.
you only need those if you sleeve your game and you're really unhappy with the perfection of the first ones. I think most people who backed the original campaign, you know, if
Have no
you
problems
haven't
at all.
opened it yet, like you're probably going to be fine with the inserts. It's also really important. I think a lot of people have missed that if you're sleeving your cards, you're supposed to recycle that middle plastic bit. So many times I've run into someone messaging us with frustration that the trays
isn't even close.
are worthless and they're completely unusable. And then when they send us video or photos of them trying to use it, they haven't removed that middle tray. Look at the back of the Planet box, and there's a description of which piece I'm talking about that needs to be removed. If you remove that, everything fits much better.
Will we release a PDF of it too, of an updated rule?
Oh, yeah,
book?
for sure.
That's already out.
Okay.
That's
there
a,
it is.
if you go through the Kickstarter page or on our website, there's a totally updated PDF of the rulebook.
Polly says, "Hi, I'm from the future and can confirm you will successfully solve the time travel mechanism."
Love it.
Thanks.
Love
Sounds like we
that.
solved the heck out of it.
Weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
It's like 6 years ago we sent Polly forward. It's weird.
All right. Let's see here. Grey Wolf wants to know, how many planet ideas have you had to abandon because they just didn't work?
Ooh, let me jump in really quick because I know you guys are going to have way more. So sometimes they get combined. So Kogia, the vine planet that's yanking you all over the place, was originally 2 different ideas. The other idea was this weird, like, stone spirally, like spaceship from an alien race that has long since abandoned it, and they would get around the ship by jumping in these little tubes that would carry them to like the other part of the ship. And so this one planet, you wouldn't be like walking edge to edge. You'd just be like teleporting around, matching the symbols, and that's how you know the things are connected. And like talking about that idea in context of Kogia, all of a sudden was like, oh, what if these tubes were actually vines that you were big enough that you could like cut into and then crawl to this other part of the planet? And all of a sudden like added this whole nother level to the planet, made it really fun.
I'm gonna say none. I haven't abandoned anything yet. There's just ones that aren't done yet.
Agreed.
Or they've been, like Jared's, absorbed into other things. I think I too had a couple ideas that kind of like moved around and got filtered into different planets, but there's nothing that I would say like, oh, that one didn't work, so I walked away. Like,
I refer to it as an idea garden, right? You just mulch that and then fertilize the other ideas, and it just comes back in a different form. We don't, like, everything's useful, right? Like every piece of information is useful, and sometimes it doesn't work out and you just repurpose it somewhere else. So
if the underlying question is like how many planets are out there, there's many.
Okay.
lot.
There's lots of clamoring for space cats. I'm just gonna say I don't know exactly. Space cats.
Well, that's interesting.
Are
I'm
being
about to
clamored
push.
for.
Should I go push that up? Yeah. Interesting.
Sure.
You gonna
All
go
right.
do something? Okay, bye. Thorbot wants to know, is there gonna be a way to get planets without having to back every Kickstarter in the future? Like, are they gonna be able to come to our website and just buy single planets and that kind of thing?
Yes. So Kickstarter wise, this is going to be our last Unsettled Kickstarter for a minute. After this, our next big Kickstarter will be Spiritfire. In the meantime, though, we are going to continue working on Unsettled Planets, and they will be released in 1 or 2 packs through our wormhole release events. So if you're not familiar with that, we have these like AMA release news hangout events 3 or 4 times a year called the Wormhole, and those are live streams that happen on YouTube like you're watching now, where we announce our new releases, and those become available through our website or through Pop Colony, and that is where we will be releasing the new planets, and they will be still fulfilled from within regional hubs so that you don't have to pay insane shipping and import taxes and VAT and all that. And obviously, you'll still have to pay VAT these days, but it will be masterminded as much as we can to keep it inexpensive. But we are going to keep a trickle of planets going as long as we're conscious, basically.
I'm glad I've got somebody else. I've at least got Justin in the background now who reads the comments too. And so when I'm
that what all this,
laughing,
like,
yeah.
giggling
Hearing
about?
the chuckling between the two
Yes.
of you. Stop being so funny in the comments.
Everyone's really excited to see what Mark is doing.
We really need to get Justin a microphone voice of God thing in the background where he
Yes.
just does his
Absolutely.
producer thing.
Okay, let's see here.
And he's 3 times louder than the rest of us, so when he talks, there's just like no avoiding it.
Quite a people have asked about whether now that we have the idea that we can't, it's not just planets that we're going to be visiting, you know, when we've got the Scarab and Evil Luna. Space prison is coming up a lot. Can we develop a space prison that we've got to like escape from?
Well, we are working on an like derelict space station, which probably accomplishes about the same thing that you're after. Prison and the like grimness of that may not be exactly on brand for Unsettled, but the tension of that I think can be captured in a derelict ship full of, you know, whatever aliens, nemesis, you know, spiritual entities. Who knows what's on this derelict space station? But
Yeah, you know, Unsettled doesn't have an enemy turn. It's all just what the explorers are doing, and then the planet will, you know, immediately respond. And so, once you get into a situation of needing to like manage where the enemy guards are going, or
what I do really like the just the premise of a escape from prison, like however we could capture that in, you know, the explorers are stuck, and the whole goal is get out of this crazy network of like locks and puzzles and stuff. I think that sounds very
some
fun.
might describe Unsettled thusly.
All of Unsettled is a prison.
Yeah.
Everyone says or Mr. Pumpkin says if we do space prison, we need Vin Diesel. Bring him.
I mean, we already have a blackout planet, so
The blue rift is open.
the blue rift is open.
Oh,
Bye.
good. We heard some.
Clicky.
Okay. Let's see. Let's do a softball then. Since
Well, that was
the
a
rift
good
is
stream.
Nice.
That was nice while it lasted.
Oh man. Okay, a softball here. What other favorite co-op games do you have? And your favorite question, how did it influence this one? I know you don't really like to think about how potentially other games influenced development because you try to create such unique experiences, but are there other co-op games that you've played that you like and that maybe in some way influenced your development?
Tom and I were different on this. I have not had very many cooperative games that I like. I played the entire, Pandemic Legacy or the legacy version of that. What's the term I'm looking for? Yeah,
Legacy.
Pandemic
Campaign.
Legacy. Yeah, I played the full campaign. A lot of things to enjoy about that game. That game's great. For the most part, I think every game we've ever played informs what we do. So, but I think what we were trying to do with this was start over. Like, really look at what does it mean to cooperate? Like, if we're going to do a cooperative game or a collaborative game, as we started calling it, like, it doesn't just mean we're all on the same team. Like, like we're all wearing red and they're wearing blue. Like, that seemed really shallow. And like, I've seen a lot of cooperative games not really be cooperative. Like, they're much more like, we're all on the same team. It's us versus the bad thing. And I didn't want that. And so, and Tom, on the other hand, now you've really enjoyed a lot of cooperative games. Mm-hmm. And so working together on this from two different perspectives, I think was great. I don't know if I'm veering from what the question was, but I don't feel like for me personally, there was a lot that was influenced or even inspired by other games. It was more like, how do we not do what there is now? How can we make something different?
Yeah, I agree with that. I, for one, really enjoy cooperative games. My family has had like over multiple generations of like nieces and nephews and kids and stuff now. Mice and Mystics has been multiple run-throughs of Mice and Mystics have been really special. My wife and I love Horrified. We have a ton of fun with that game. My son and I right now are playing Cora Quest, which is fantastic and wonderful. I really like the Arkham File games. I like Eldritch Horror. I love the Arkham Horror card game. That's probably a top 3 game for me. If there was anything that I felt like directly influenced my work on Unsettled, it would be that Arkham Horror card game in its spirit. Because what that game does that feels really special to me is each time a new pack comes out, it doesn't like it's just wide open. Like that game doesn't restrict itself at all. It is just a mechanical playground where they say, here are the established rules, and now we're going to bend and twist those rules and extrapolate them, and they just have complete design freedom. You can feel the freedom that they feel when they work on that game to just do something wildly different every time they put out a different pack. And just the spirit of that, I feel like, was something that we really wanted to bring into Unsettled, and so that felt like there was something similar going on there. But to say that it directly inspired it, I don't know that I would go that far either. But I do really like that game.
Just one quick quote that just came up. Christopher Fields said, "I have to say Unsettled is as much an experience as a game. It's one of the most immersive feeling and yet also mechanically amazing games I've played."
Thank you.
That feels good. Okay, let's see. Let's bring it up again. Are we going to visit Vindication in the Unsettled world? Is there a planet? Is there a Vindication planet ever? We are going to let people explore.
We looked at each other yesterday and said, could we do it? And then we nodded and said, yeah, we could do it. Will we do it? I don't know. I feel like we can do anything.
Yeah.
But
we're not.
Should we?
We're not huge on just fan service for the sake of fan service, if that makes sense. Now, does that mean we couldn't like tastefully do this in a subtle way? No, we could pull it off.
We could totally pull it off, and
I think we all kind of want to pull it off, but we didn't want to do it right away because that's somehow it's less cheesy if it's Planet 12 or 13 instead of like Planet 4 where we're like, look at us.
I like cheesy.
There is a really cool, nuanced way, I think, to tie those worlds together a little bit, or make this, maybe it is a time travel type of a thing. It's interesting. Extend both of those, worlds a little bit, and kind of have the little Venn diagram where they cross over, a little sliver.
Whatever we do, we connected the other day about the idea of Luna somehow becoming like this mythological figure in the Vindication universe because of whatever happens on this planet pack.
They did just say it could be the Voyage Home series. Like it could be.
There are so many things.
It's like the end of Battlestar. Sorry, I don't know why I needed to just randomly confuse many people. Yeah.
Jobby gets me, okay, with this idea.
Jobby.
Imagine a planet where you're having a 24/7 speed dating experience and you have to keep your squad from getting sucked in and escape. Like, that's the Unsettled game I'd like to play.
I'm just imagining the height of that NPC deck, like how many different people you would. That sounds so fun.
Okay, Michael Wild. This is a good question. Do you find that you're having to give up game design and become logistic experts? Does the future look like a strange mix of game design and logistics? Will there be a logistic planet?
I know Michael. I met Michael years ago. I believe, if it's the Michael Wild.
Is this Michael from Aloha?
I think so, or wherever he's from. Yeah.
Hi, Michael, probably from Aloha.
Just the coolest. If this is the right Michael, I think it is. Such a cool experience meeting this person, and such an interesting question, because I think about this a lot. What we sacrifice in the time that we spend. What he's asking. What I hear you asking, Michael, is, are you finding that you're sacrificing doing the stuff you love to do the stuff that you have to do? And the answer is yes. There's no question that 80% of this is stuff that we have to slog through, and that people would quit knowing that they had to do. Worldwide logistics, and then insane customer service and redundant, repetitive tasks. And there's so much of that. However, it's still worth it. Like there's so much joy in the making and the community building and the connecting with people who live all over the world and are from different cultures and backgrounds, and they play our game and they're using, different languages, and they're making up their own little cool cards and components. And like, this is why we do what we do. And there is no question that there is a heavy weight of stuff that we don't like to do, that we have to do because it's our responsibility and our obligation, and we signed up for that because this is a job now and not just a hobby. It's kind of both because we love it so much. But I think that's a very insightful question, and I find that most things in life that are worth doing have that toll, or they have that cost associated with doing them, and that's why so few people do them.
Jared, can you imagine making the survival task for the logistics planet?
Well, I was honestly just thinking about how it relates to my life as like a musical theater actor, and how like in order to like do the actual fun of being on stage in front of people, you have to just get punched in the face over and over and over again, being like, "Hi, am I good enough for this project? Okay, see you later. Hi, am I good enough for this project? Okay, see you later." And that like the people who actually succeed are those who see like that difficult part as part of the job, and that part of my job is getting out there and showing myself to people, and that that resulting in a project is not the success of an actor.
There's always a work component to going to work. The difference for me, at least, and I think for all of us here, is what is that work component enabling? Like what is it bringing into the world ultimately? And when we have campaigns like this where we get to connect with everyone, and when we hear feedback from people and they tell us stories of their experiences with the community or with the games, or with they're playing with their family, people send us long emails often sharing personal stories, and it's incredibly powerful. And knowing that the grind of work is creating that in the world makes it absolutely worth it, even if 90% of our time isn't doing the creative stuff that we love. And I think no matter what, when you go to work, it's going to be work. But in past careers for me, the end of that has been I get a paycheck and a company makes some money, and this is a completely different end result to my labor.
The passion drives it forward, or it's not worth it. And I would say that's even true of this. I don't know what the perspectives are on Orange Nebula or the things that we make, but if the passion isn't there, I feel like I should be doing something different. And I feel like that's true of everyone. Like, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, why are you doing it? Like, move forward. This sounds like one of our podcast episodes. This is the type of stuff we talk about in the podcast. But what do you do it for? Because money is not enough. And definitely this is not the industry to make money, right? Like, this is about...
The money is not enough.
Well, whatever the numbers look like are not what the numbers end up looking like. It doesn't... Like, this is not where people get rich. This is where people can make things to create experiences that bring people together around the table or in the community that are memorable. And that's why we do it. And that's worth it for us. And I don't know. I wish I felt strongly about that.
All right, I'm going to pivot to a few more. It's 12:55 right now also, so y'all fine with just keep
the questions
moving
are
along?
coming. Let's keep going.
I've got a few that are kind of focused mechanical type questions.
And we're out.
That's right. Good.
Bye.
Let's see. Are there plans? Nick wants to know, are there plans for adding support for more than 4 players ever? Is this ever going to be more than a 4-player game, or are we going to keep it capped there?
I really doubt it.
Earlier we mentioned that the mechanics are fragile and very nuanced, and it would break so many things. I worry about that, so probably not.
The only universe that I've conceived where it's even possible is some sort of expansion that changes the Luna mechanics, where an individual person controls Luna.
I love the hubris where you conceive universes.
That's right.
That's what you hired me to do. I'm sorry.
It's true. He's just doing his job, Tom. Also, I agree with what you just said. Like, you could introduce that interesting mechanic on a planet. I like that.
A lot. Ryan Fifield wants to know, is there any option of developing persistent consequences or rewards that people can take campaign style from planet to planet?
The concept of campaign is brought up a lot. It's not how the game was designed. It may be something that we look at in the future. Again, I don't know if that would break the system or if we'd have to do something dramatic to accommodate a set of rules that would allow you to campaign. So it's something that we're talking about, but there really are no guarantees on that.
Yeah, we've beat that up on the whiteboard a few times, and there are some really cool options. Right now, we're pretty focused on just embracing what's special about Unsettled, which is that it's not this 700-hour campaign that you never get to finish and feels bad. That like, oh, that was a missed opportunity that we didn't finish that game, which I feel about half my games.
Right.
Now, so we want to stay true to what is making Unsettled work so well in people's lives. Now, that said, at a certain point, once we've made 1 gunjillion planets, like there might be time or there might be wisdom in sort of revisiting what's going on with the game and saying, okay, how can we freshen this up? And looking at making some overarching campaign experience. Maybe that's the journey home and it's the final expansion or something like that. But right now, we have so much freedom in the planet packs that it's really hard to imagine the game getting stale, because the whole design intent of the game was there's nothing to become stale because everything gets to be brand new. So we'll see.
Yeah, I also really like the fact that you can, once you learn how to play, you can pop this open and play in an hour and 15 minutes and then go play the next game if that's your thing. That's how most game nights work from my background. You don't have to sit there and slog through a long 3.5 hour thing. And
this is kind of fun. Tomer says, what about a competitive mode for 2 teams of 2 to solve a planet's puzzle first? I mean, you could just do that on your own.
I think you just 2 games of Unsettled
Yeah.
and you hit like a chess timer or something, and then that's not how those timers work,
I'll,
but you know what I mean.
I'll give some props and credit to that idea, though. That is possible. We could create a
Maybe we could do
PvP version.
Maybe we could do an event like that at Gen Con.
Race
No,
mode.
purple and
Race
orange
mode.
versus blue and green, like bust it out on this planet. Of course we could do that. Maybe we should.
What about a blank planet? Like, is there anything we can do to give people like a blank planet that they can do
We've
on
talked
their own?
We've actually talked a lot about making an online
That's another question. Is
thing
there
where
digital
you
versions?
where you can get on there and you can input stuff and it generates the cards and things for you. That is so like close to the ethos of our community and what we like about Unsettled that we would love to make that happen. Derek is only so much dev team. Hey, Derek, can we have an app and an amazing website that lets us do all these things?
He has his earbuds in. He just goes,
He's going to his happy place right now.
So those are all things that we really want to do. And we've talked about them, and they're wonderful ideas. We could at some point probably just release a blank planet. It's just blank card stock. It's really inexpensive, and you can, hack it on your own. But I don't know how much engagement that would get.
I don't know.
They're laminated so that you can dry erase marker them, and it's like a play test, like you design and like iterate on your own planet mechanics.
Nothing makes me more excited than the idea of community-generated planets that you can just like go and hit the print button on, and out comes the thing. And
oh my goodness,
yeah,
half a dozen people. Yeah, we just have to choose our battles. Is I think where we're at. We're not a huge company. We're a very small company right now. So
gosh, I caused Derek to get up and pace.
I know. Look at him. He's like.
I'm so sorry,
he was
Derek.
Focused.
Oh no! Now
come
I'm
share a
racked with
smile,
guilt.
Derek.
no, he already
Okay,
did.
Roger Bow gets bonus points because he remembered from our last live stream that if you asterisk food or snacks before your question, I'll get to it first. So, do
There
you
it goes.
see? Roger says, do you see O-Neb in the future sticking mainly to 1 game at a time with a trickle of content for previous games? Is this cadence that we're currently working through, is that going to stay the same?
No, if we keep this cadence, we will. Like, I'll die before half the stuff that I want to do is done, and it's probably going to be that way anyway. We are trying to increase the cadence, but never at the cost of the quality of what we're doing. We're trying to slowly build the team to the point where we have a couple development teams and we're moving a couple projects forward at once, and that's kind of where we're at right now. It takes a couple years to bring a game to market, and it just seems like an eternity, not just for you, but for us. Like it's a lot of work. And if we could do that more often, I think it would feel good to us. And also, I'll just say we are really, really excited and committed to making lighter games, a little bit smaller, easier to get to the table, simpler rule sets that are still super compelling and have really unique, interesting mechanisms. So I would be on the lookout for a lot of that coming from us soon.
Yeah,
after Spiritfire, which is huge and wondrous.
Whoops, we did it again. The sort of behind the curtain view on that is what we, in an ideal world, we would love to have Unsettled going with new planets and a new team, a team focused really on that, and then have Spiritfire going with new realms. Spiritfire is very similar in the pack format to Unsettled, and so have those two properties just going in perpetuity with more and more content, and then while those two things are just going forever, releasing smaller games that exist in those worlds and expand those worlds, but they're their own standalone thing. The more family type games or things that you can play in 40 minutes and, aren't a huge lift, things like parks and things like that.
Yeah, like whatever, you'd walk into the inn on the Vindication Island and see people playing, like at the table.
And be able
like
to
we
sit
want
down.
to release that game.
We've got at least one or two Luna games to design where, Luna's the hero.
Like Furnace is a game that's really popular right now. Cascadia, these games are very approachable. They're really simple rule sets, and you can bring them out and play them a lot, and people really like that. There's no reason that we can't develop some of those things that are compelling and tie them to our other properties, and we really want to do that. We can't help ourselves, and we make big, vast, sprawling things right now.
Every time we say our next game is going to be small, everyone just the nose is just like,
Laughs
okay,
at us.
okay.
Yeah, that's cute.
And then we make Unsettled, and then we say it again, and then we make Spiritfire, and so we'll see how this
Somebody
goes.
asked earlier what we use this ruler to measure, and it's like, the size of the complexity of our games. Is it hit?
Kind
Now, that being said, Unsettled is not complex.
You can learn it. I mean, we teach new players often, and they can pick it up after a few rounds.
I've yet to have somebody be like, bah, I
Can't figure it
quit. I cannot figure it out.
Even our
I've never had anyone quit in that manner anyway, but I hear what you're saying.
You've never met our mother. She didn't quit. So, Brandon Goodwin wants to know, since this is the last Kickstarter for Unsettled for a little while, will there be other ways of getting the core box?
We got you. Yeah, we're gonna have. We do like to keep our inventory low. We don't like product sitting, and so as a result, say it, Tom.
I'm just thinking about every month when the storage fee email comes in, and
Yeah.
Mark and I have to talk for 10 minutes about it.
Sorry,
That's
Tom.
what I'm laughing about.
It's expensive to store things. The logistics question. Yeah. Thank you, Michael Wild, for sharing my pain on that. But we are. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Okay.
So what we are going to try to do a large print run of this so that we have some available. There are at this point 50 retailers who are supporting the game. Oh no.
Sorry. Jules just said,
I imagine more retailers will support it in the long
What
run.
Jules say?
Jules said Candy Planet, where you have to avoid the temptation to eat, but it's so hard not to.
That's just
Ooh.
Earth.
Wow. That's so
We're going to try really hard to make this available
Yeah.
as much as we can, and still control the
But we are
The inventory.
we are a small company. We need Kickstarter to do these print runs. We can't do these print runs without Kickstarter. We don't have the capital for it. So once we sell out, that is sort of it for a while until we're able to do another Kickstarter, or it makes sense to do another Kickstarter. So yeah, the base game will be available. The framework will be available for a season, but when that season is over, that sunset on that.
Down. I repeat, the scarab is down.
They're gonna start dropping soon, but
Yeah, we are back.
Hey.
Cool. Sorry about that.
I loved all of your creative ideas about what happened, though. Thank you for that.
are we up on video?
Most of them were true.
It is, yes. You can't
Okay.
see it here because there's a lag, but okay. So let's pop into another question here. This is a little different than the like create your own planet question, but like, will there be digital versions for people to play at all? Is that a thing for us?
Oh, like tabletop simulator and this is a very complex system to replicate multiple times with multiple versions. I don't think that's going to be a simple task. I don't know, Tom.
I mean,
I don't see it.
it would take a lot of we would need help. Like, we don't have the bandwidth on this team right now to take that as seriously as it deserves to be taken. I can see a possibility of someone coming to us and saying, like, we will help you with this, but you have to send us files, and then they do the work of putting it on Tabletop Simulator. We understand the power and the appeal of that platform, in Tabletopia, particularly after 2020. I know that is a wonderful opportunity for people to play things from a distance from each other and connect with gaming communities that are outside of their own neighborhood. It would be, I think, pretty tough for this game. There's a decent amount of reading in this game.
And it constantly updated with new planets and stuff. And we're really, the heart of it, though, is we've designed this to be an analog tabletop, get your people together and laugh and spill your drinks and have fun playing together in the same space, reading each other's body language. And that's kind of what board games are. Otherwise, we would just go into the video game space.
Yeah, we're not ruling it out because we know that is a really special and valuable part of the hobby for a lot of people.
It is.
But it's not a super high priority for us because it seems complicated and we don't understand it.
Nick Stockbridge is volunteering.
I knew this would happen. I knew I would accidentally trigger something happening.
Okay, let's move on to another one. This is just a really random small gameplay question. Does the scarab on Winora, does the scarab count as a node for adding spore clouds? Seen a lot of confusion in the comments and forums and no official answer. Does the scarab count in Winora?
Typically speaking, the scarab does count as a node.
But there are no spore clouds that go on the scarab.
But I believe there are no spore clouds on the scarab. These questions are hard because, we designed those planets 2 years ago. So like, I don't actually have encyclopedic knowledge of everything that's in all the little rule books for each planet. So when these questions come up, I need to get everything out and look at my notes and look through everything and be like, does it?
Yeah, because mechanically it's like it might, but also there's that level of immersion to all of the rules. Where in that situation, if I came across that myself, right now, not knowing what it officially says in the book, I would assume that there's not any existing just open fungus on the ship, so we wouldn't be disturbing it by walking off the ship.
What I would say is, when in doubt, refer to the golden rules in the index that say just pick what makes the most sense to you thematically and mechanically and roll with it. It's a cooperative game designed for you to have a fun experience with your group. It is not meant to be like this intense rule-bound, like, just do whatever sounds like it makes the most sense and keep going. And then if you really, really, really want to beat it up on BGG later, like, go for it. We'll meet you there. But when you're playing the game, just roll.
Okay. Will there be an opportunity to add some Orange Nebula merch to the Pledge Manager?
We'll have a limited amount in there. Yeah, I mean, again, even with merch, we don't want to flood stuff. Like, I don't like floods of stuff. Like, if we're gonna do something, we're gonna make it nice and have a limited amount available. And if people love it, great. And if they don't,
We'd be interested to know which merch you're interested in.
That's a good point.
Merch on Kickstarters, when we say merch, you know, that's a word that annoys some people or confuses some people. You know, we're talking about apparel, shirts, hats, cups, you know, things that aren't a board game. That stuff gets kind of complicated on a Kickstarter because the Kickstarters are being fulfilled from all these hubs around the world, and so we need to get shirts there. But then what sizes are available there? And, you know, shirts are particularly complicated because you've got 7 different sizes and 7 different SKUs and 9 different distribution hubs, and moving everything around is kind of a nightmare. But things like hats and that Luna cup makes the most sense. Something will be available.
What about the Luna water bottle?
Yeah, and it's really nice, by the way, that Luna thermal specialty vacuum sealed container 3 thing.
I'm seeing O-Neb socks. I'm seeing O-Neb caps. A new Unsettled shirt for merch.
Whatever's special and makes the community feel like they're part of something. Yeah, we'll definitely spend some time. We'll do it right. It'll be high quality, and we will take care of you.
Okay. Mari Bauma wants to know, you spoke about it earlier, but are you planning to have a team that just adds content for Unsettled? I mean, I think with an organization as small as we are, there's nobody that just does something. Everybody is multifaceted.
Multi.
That's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
You got that one, Lacey. Good job.
Thank you. I don't get to answer them very often. I like
that
when
would
I
be
can
nice.
squeeze
You
out
know,
an
if we were
answer.
suddenly 3 times bigger, that would be the idea. This is the Unsettled development team. Right now, that's just like Lacey said. We don't have enough bodies or
Plus,
brains.
Also, I think such a big part of what makes our organization so... We talked about it before, the creativity that we're able to pour into things. The only way we're able to do that is by exploring the breadth and depth of our own creativity, which you can't do if you're pigeonholed into one task and one role, like developing one planet. So our focus is use your skills to the best of your ability in the way that's going to best benefit the company and engage the community. Okay. Jobby asked, with each game that you make, does it feel like you're starting out a new job rather than a new project? Does it feel like a whole new job when you start a new planet?
I feel
or
like
not a new planet, but a new project?
It feels like clocking into different jobs to me. I mean, you know, we were talking about Spotify playlists earlier, but I have like separate playlists for if I'm working on Vindication and it's like a more like instrumental medieval theme music, or if I'm working on Unsettled, then I have more like space operatic, twinkly in the stars music. And so it feels like I am entering a whole different space.
What do you think about that, Mark? That's a really interesting question.
I don't necessarily think of what I do as a job, so I don't know if that applies to me. The frame that I look at things in is, what would I want if it were me, and what could this be if it were the ultimate version of itself? And then can we do that? And then what's going to be necessary for us to do that? And then assembling the pieces and the people, and the joy that we get from creation is there are no limits, right? We can just start with an empty page. But I don't think it feels like a new job to me, because the creativity is the job.
And maybe you and I are unique in that, because like having our own businesses, nothing really feels like a job. It just feels like the next thing that you're doing.
I'll go even further and say, like, even when I'm working on Unsettled or Spiritfire or Vindication, I don't even feel like I'm working on that project. I feel like whatever I'm working on Vindication informs, Unsettled, or informs the other things that I'm doing. And I mean, to go even one level up, I feel like our team and our community is also a project, or it's also like, so I have a different perspective. I feel like I haven't had a job for years. Like I have massive responsibility, but the job, I don't know what a job is.
Where the line exists for me is the creative work versus the non-creative work. And, so I agree, whatever game property I'm working on, or if I'm working on a writing project, I've got some books that I'm doing, all of those things are my creative space, and all of it does feed into each other. No question whatsoever. But when I'm doing that, it does feel like I'm in a very different place, like mentally, emotionally, almost
Absolutely.
spiritually, than when I pivot over here. And now I'm, dealing with Her Majesty's taxes and, spreadsheets and all this other like intense doldrum. Like it is such a different part of my brain and a different reality almost that does feel like two different jobs, if we're going to call them that. But switching between the actual creative projects doesn't really feel like such a big switch because I am still in my sort of creative mode. And we'll be working on Spiritfire and some conversation will be happening. And then that will just suddenly we're talking about this other game because it just sort of like all of, things started triggering and it just bled over here. And so now we're working on this and your planet is about my planet is about this planet is actually about this other game called Siphon Drive that we forgot about. And like everything is just all over. So the creative stuff really all just exists in a whirlpool.
Hope that helps.
By the way, people were just measuring what levels Mark was on based on the ruler now as well. So, Tomer wants to know, compared to Vindication, how would you describe Unsettled from a development perspective? Like the amount of effort put into it, the different types of creativity, the narrative, the mechanics, the process of developing Vindication versus the process of developing Unsettled. Give us a little comparison.
So Vindication was a long, slow grind, and I was the primary designer on that.
You were alone for a long time.
I designed that game, and there were playtesters and other people involved.
You were very alone.
I was very alone, and it was a long
Do you
time
remember
coming.
how it felt to be so alone?
in darkness.
Yeah, there were no lights.
And then when Tom came, there was light.
I don't know. I remember you
this is
pulling me
going?
into the back
Well, I
corner.
think then Lacey
Take a
came
look
and
at
there was
my
light, and
game.
then-
Take a look at this game I'm building.
What a strange thing to do.
peddling my wares.
He was like,
Okay, answer the
And then
you may speak.
With Unsettled, Tom and I worked in conjunction with each other, and it was just kind of like, an HBO pay-per-view boxing event for 2 years where we're trying to knock each other out and make the game great at the same time. I joke, we were aligned on everything that we were doing with the game, but when you work with a co-developer or a co-designer, it's a very different process, and the game would not be the same without both of us in it. Like,
Yeah, you joke, but we definitely made that game over each other's dead bodies.
we absolutely
yeah.
did, and that's what makes it what it is, because
And
we fought for every detail and every nuance, and we scrutinized each other, and we scrutinized because we care so much. And there were things that I took lead on that Tom just kind of didn't mess with, and there are things that Tom took lead on that I didn't mess with. Like, all that incredible content that's written is Tom. Like, he wrote those stories and built the beautiful, amazing, hilarious stuff in there, and it blows my mind. I would never be able to do that. Like, it's such a cool thing. And then we have other people coming in. Jared's doing a lot of it now, and we're making each other better and stronger. And so Vindication was a starting point, and I basically just bled my entire career into something that I could make, and then tried to share it and make it better. Whereas Unsettled is like an evolution of that, and I believe that Spiritfire also is going to be an evolution on that. It's going to go even further than Unsettled.
A higher level.
Yeah, a higher level.
Well, I also want to refute a little bit the idea, like, we made the spirit of that game together. Like, the voice of that game was not me. The voice of that game was us. But I think the one of the main differences, too, in the development of the two games is, like Mark was saying, Vindication was made as sort of a personal passion project that then turned into something bigger. When we were working on Unsettled, like, people were anticipating it and people's jobs were on the line. So it was suddenly, this is a career and it's something that needs to go well and it has to happen on a timeline. Whereas with Vindication, it was more like, this is just something that Mark was doing for Mark and for his daughters and to bring something into the world. But, if it took 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, like, no one was going to lose their job over that. So there are different pressures to the development that made them feel different too, which is interesting.
Two quick side things. Dwight Mendenhall wants to remind us the water bottle's available now. He just went and bought it now since we talked about it, and they've got
It was, and then Dwight bought it.
Jeez, Dwight.
That's right.
Second thing,
Dwight's amazing.
Brett, he asterisked this with food too. Is there a good place to get barbecue in Vancouver, Portland? Hey, we're right across from Smokin' Oak. That's a great spot.
Smokin'
Check out
Oak
Smokin'
barbecue.
Brett.
It's walking distance from here.
David McDonald wants to know any big retailer deals coming soon.
We always love on our retailers, and we hook them up. DM us if you're a retailer. If you have all the proper documentation and licensing, we will hook you up.
That's all.
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay. Deal. Any chance of Vindication making a Kickstarter return?
Not for a while. Like the Archive of the Ancients is going to have everything in it, and it is at the very end here. So we're going to be receiving that soon, and there's going to be plenty of that. So I don't know if we're going to go into super development. We're going to spin over to Spiritfire, and continue going on Unsettled. Unsettled that's priority one.
Yeah, I think we feel like Vindication said what it needed to say. And, now Unsettled is doing that, and then Spiritfire is going to do that. And I think if we were to pivot back to Vindication, we'd probably be pivoting back to the world of Vindication in some other capacity, as opposed to, like, directly getting... We might make more card packs, but as far as, like, we're doing another Vindication Kickstarter with a whole bunch of new expansions and stuff, that's at least years away, if ever.
Is Vindication still on track for hitting fulfillment centers in March?
We have no. In the most recent update, we have estimated Q2 of this year. But honestly, after the way that last year went and the way that things still are right now, like, we're not out there having to deal with it day to day. So, it's less intense for us at the moment. But people who are expressing the exact same experiences and frustration that we had last year. And we're just done making estimates in this climate. Like, we promise to be on it and to be responsible and to push the project forward in a responsible way and to communicate what we know when we know it. And when something happens, we will share that with you. But timelines based on everyone else's guesses, based on other people's guesses, are just setting everyone up for disappointment. It makes liars out of us. It's just not something that we can logistically conceivably do anymore because there's no such thing as a reliable timeline.
We can't control it.
Yeah.
Right.
There
yeah.
used to be.
Everything's
but
going
not now.
slower than we would like, but everything is going smooth and is going to be as perfect as we can make it. And we design games. We do not control global fulfillment and logistics, and like, we do as much of that as we can. That's not what we do. And we are beholden to thousands of other people who do that stuff. And if they tell us something and then they fail, it makes us look bad. Like you said, we, as fast as we can get it, we're going to take care of our part of it.
But we will communicate with you everything we know. Right now, Vindication is in production. It took a break for Chinese New Year. It's full tilt right now. And as soon as it's done, we'll let you know. At that point, then we have to fight the battle to get containers and get onto ships. Who knows? That might, take the rest of our lives. It might go super quickly.
Almost all the manufacturing is done. We started a lot of it a long time ago. So, yeah, it's... Yeah.
Does everybody have a favorite new thing in this Kickstarter? A specific planet, a survival task pack, something that could be revealed later? What's everybody's favorite new thing in this Kickstarter? What about Jared, just specifically? Do you have a favorite new thing?
Yeah, sure. So I'll pick an element from Kogia. There is the kind of teased in the planet description, talking about how it's been moving through space on its eons journey, collecting things, and the opportunity system is a little different, where you're kind of dealing with organic or inorganic discoveries, and a lot of the inorganic discoveries are like individual artifacts from some completely unassociated alien race that it like has nothing to do with this planet, but this random like artifact was just snatched up and now it's here, and
so cool.
Yeah.
You have a favorite?
I mean, I'm always most excited about the newest thing, typically. So the thing I'm really excited about right now is the survival pack. I just know in my spirit that when we're done collecting all the concepts for that and then we develop them into something new. Like, those are going to be the 6 coolest survival tasks in the game. Like, they're going to be so, because, you know, we are us. Here we are with our brains that don't work differently than they do. You know, I'm always Tom, you're always Jared, you're always Mark. But when we bring in hundreds and thousands of other brains, new weird things happen that we would not do. And those packs are going, that the survival tasks in that pack are going to do some very weird and cool things. I'm really excited about that.
The scientific fascinations has really intrigued me through its development. And if you've played the game, you're using insight to gain comprehension, to gain scientific breakthroughs, to give you these powers and abilities. The scientific fascinations give you the opportunity to have a decision point where you want to use those insights to further you along your goal of accomplishing the survival task, or going down a rabbit trail because of your personal fascination with science at the expense of that insight to unlock a different type of ability, which still may circle around and help you do that survival task. So it's a fork in the road, and they're individually they're unique to each player. And I just think those add a lot of decision point and a little bit of distinguishing and between the players and the crew that, I don't know, there's something really interesting about that nuance that really helps that game.
I really love those conceptually. Like, thematically, the idea of what's happening there. You know, you've got these curious scientists that just can't, like, they're in this life or death situation.
But they're super,
and you just can't not be still into this thing that you're just nerdishly obsessed with, which feels true to me in a silly way.
And so
like,
you're still doing the research on the planet, but occasionally it's like you're still pushing forward this micro thing that you're super obsessed with, and you would have been working on the ship anyways if we didn't land. And
it's the story that you're telling yourself in your head that, yes, I was trained through all of this science to do it this way, but I just have this intuition that if I did it differently, I could save everyone. And that's just a cool story point, too, for me. So.
I also really like what you were talking about as far as the way that it differentiates the characters, the players. Not only, you know, do you have your own little now unique effect or mechanism or thing that you can do, but the like puzzle with which you interact with it is different than each other person's. You know, so phone discipline.
Time to go
I
to
heard
nap
yours
time.
like ring 4 times.
That was a
Lullaby.
ding. That's a ring.
ring a ding ding.
You know, in the core framework, everyone's getting different breakthroughs and different anomalies, but the method with which you're gaining them is the same for everyone. With the fascinations, we're each playing our own little mini game, basically, to empower our little ability. So, like, what I'm doing is totally different from what you're doing, and so you feel like more of a unique character. And then the specializations only compound that. Plus, it's very cool to have your dashboard with now 2 boards clicked into the side of it. It's just something very satisfying about that.
All right, we are at 1:30 now. It's at least in our time zone. We're at 90 minutes. So I feel like there's a couple more questions that we could get to. Why don't I ask...
We were at 1:30. We're only going to do 2 more hours of questions.
Why don't I ask one more, because this has come up just a couple times, and then the rest of them that we didn't get to, I apologize. What about any translations? We've got 2 requests specifically for, will this game ever be in a German version? Or should I just get it now because that German version isn't going to be coming in the future?
There's a likelihood that German, French, Spanish, Polish will be coming in the future, but it will not happen. There's no chance that'll happen before 2024.
The future is 3-4 years away. Yeah.
However, in a lot of the Asian languages, we may have it in 2023. So that's the clarity on that. I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
We have to work with partners, and those partners have people that they answer to, and we're working on that. But
There's a
for
lot to
Unsettled, I would say
translate.
start now. There is a path to get this game later, but it's a good 2 years out if it's not an Asian or English language.
All right, so those of you that I didn't get to answer, there was a few. I apologize. Ryan Levitz, I let your wife know I heard, and I'll pass the feedback along. But
Great. What
But
did we do wrong?
How was that supposed to make us feel? I feel very strange.
it's good.
Oh,
It's
good.
positive.
Good.
We didn't need to do big positive compliments here at the end for ourselves.
That's
okay.
We love you too.
All right. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, this morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is for you. We appreciate you so much. The enthusiasm that you've put into this campaign so far, we feel so deeply, and we're so unbelievably grateful for
Very
all of this
grateful.
energy that you put into this.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time here. Thank you for your time in the campaign. We'll see you around in the comments section.
Blue Rift is open.
Space is hard.
Try not to die. Bye.
Dump screen.
See y'all later.